Well, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like Ford Motor Company has your back. They have just filed for an application, patent application on a new technology that helps you and I avoid becoming illegal drug traffickers by accident. If you guys don't know, I am Dave Spears, 10-year intellectual property dealing with everything from trademarks, copyrights, trade secrets, as well as patents. Now, again, I'm not sure. You guys have to let me know in the comment section. And first of all, hit a like button if you haven't already, and please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I'm trying to provide you guys this current events, and this one came down the pipeline. I got sent to me, and I thought this was an interesting one to talk about. Now, Ford Motor Company, again, they're trying to look out for us. I guess they're trying to avoid, help us avoid being drug traffickers on accident, which is crazy. Again, I'm in the great state of Michigan, so here in the Midwest, obviously we are kind of neighbors to Canada, but I would imagine that being neighbors to Canada is much different from being neighbors to Mexico. So to the point that we have people who are watching who are in Texas, who are in Arizona, who are bordering our friends to the South Mexico. I would imagine that this problem comes up a little more, but you guys have to please let me know in the comment section. Is the cartel really doing it like that to the point where they're hiding drugs in other people's car, and then once they get over the border, they're kind of tracking that person down and getting the drugs back? And you guys have to let me know how that works out. We're going to take a look at not only the article that is kind of broke this news, one of the publications that broke the news, but we're going to actually look at the patent. You know, as a patent attorney, I like to go through the claims. What is Ford actually trying to claim and protect? And then again, we'll get you out of there on that note. But again, going back to my original point, you guys have to let me know in the comment section, how does this typically work? Does the drug traffickers or the cartel, are they kind of, while you're in the grocery store or while you are, sleeping in your house, they're kind of, I won't say breaking into your car, but they're modifying your car, let's say, to place illegal drugs in there, to the extent that I guess they get intel that you're crossing over into the U.S. And then once you get over here, they're tracking you down and getting the drugs back so that you truly have no idea that you are a drug trafficker, I guess? Or is it a little bit more, hey, you're driving in your car and they know you're coming over and they're pretty much telling you, hey, you're going to transfer these drugs over to the U.S. and we're going to get them when we're on the other side, or else you and your family is at risk? I need to, you guys have to let me know in the comment section. Is it number one? Are they, once you're away from your vehicle, they're putting these illegal drugs in fenders and body panels, things like that? And then as you get over, unbeknownst to you, having drugs in your car, you're getting tracked down and the cartel is coming after their drugs? Or as you're in traffic, or as you're about to kind of cross over, they're stopping you, putting the drugs over, and then as you get over into the U.S., they're taking those drugs back. I need to know, is it option one or option two? Please let me know in the comment section. I'm very curious about this. Like I said, in the great state of Michigan, in the Midwest here, we don't have, I know, I think marijuana is legal in Canada, but we don't have those type problems where I guess people are trying to, get drugs back and forth through the border, the Canadian border here. But again, I would imagine that, being in Texas, being in Arizona, being in one of those southern states here in the U.S. where you're, essentially neighboring Mexico and all its glory, dealing with the cartels and stuff like that, it may be a different experience for you that I'm just not aware of. So part of this is me trying to get hip and try to become a little bit more informed as to what, people are dealing with in the southern states as relates to being at the hands of the cartel and, essentially being illegal drug traffickers, whether it's by force or something that you're not aware of. So look at this article. It came out through courts. Again, it came out on Tuesday, so a few days ago, this past week, and it says Ford wants to protect drivers from becoming drug traffickers by accident. Seems like Ford is looking out for us. I know you guys weren't too hot about Ford and some of the other patents that we talked about. I forget the last one, but I think you guys weren't too hot about that. I think they were, being able to tell whether or not your vehicle is speeding. You guys left it in the comment section. You guys really weren't happy about this, but let me know. Do you guys like this? Is Ford back in your good gracious with them looking out and trying to make sure you're not dealing drugs by accident? Let's look at the article here. Car technology seems to get better by the year. From hands-free driving tech and to in-car entertainment, we're spoiled. While not everyone may use the technology that's available to them, much of it is helpful if you need it. Ford's latest patent can help with something you'll probably never have to deal with: except as an AI generated hypothetical situation on your uncle's Facebook feed. And this is actually a pretty good point to kind of stop the article. I mean, stop the no, just kind of bring it back on myself and kind of let you guys know to the extent that you don't know already. Just because you patent something, that doesn't mean that you're actually going to use that patent. These big companies, say Ford, say Apple, say Microsoft, say Tesla, they have R&D budgets that are hundreds of millions of dollars, in some cases billions of dollars, where they have to do R&D, try to come up with new technology. And to the extent that they come up with new technology, they patent that technology if it's not already done before or used before. And that doesn't mean that they're going to make it to production. It just means that they're filing for patent protection on it. Again, they can put it in production at a later date, especially if they have the patent, or they can just hold on to the patent and do whatever they just have a stockpile of patents. But I think it was good to say stop it and bring it back on me and just kind of make that point be known, because just because you file for a patent application, you have a patent, that doesn't mean that you are actually going to put that patent or put that technology in production. So at least according to the author of this article, he or she thinks that this is more or less a hypothetical that that you may see in law school or on your uncle's Facebook feed, and this is not something that's going to ever make the production. And to be honest with you, after reading kind of the claims of the patent application, this person may be right. But let's continue. First spotted by Motor One, Ford patented a new cargo detection technology in late 2023 that will prevent drivers from becoming a blind mule, a term used to describe a person who unknowingly trafficked drugs. So it seems like Ford has kind of been in this space already, going back to 2023. So let's see here. A new Ford patent. I'm not going to read that. The system will use a combination of sensors and cameras to monitor and check things like the vehicle's weight or someone suspiciously standing too close to the vehicle. See, this is the thing. When you're saying suspiciously standing too close to the vehicle, this lets me believe, or makes me believe, that they're actually stashing drugs in your car. I don't know. Maybe it's when you're around. Maybe it's not when you're around. I guess the fact that they're standing too close to the car, you may be in the car, you may be not in the car. So let me take that back. So going forward, if anything unusual is detected, the system will record the data and the vehicle surroundings for potential evidence. Is tech like this actually needed, though? Again, so it seems like the author of the article is a little skeptic. It's hard to tell, the author says. A report from this news source talks about various instances of innocent people being used to blindly traffic drugs, but there are no hard numbers. The government seems to be okay in assuming that most people who get caught smuggling knew that they were getting what they were getting into, as a recent Supreme Court ruling shows, with fentanyl trafficking up nearly 1,000%. Dang, that's crazy. Yeah, it makes sense, because a lot of people are kind of croaking over this fentanyl, or these drugs being laced with fentanyl, unfortunately. Ford patent may prove useful if the automaker decides to put it into the vehicle in the future. So, again, we're going to take a look at the patent. And again, I really want you to kind of understand how to read these claims, so that once you come up with a technology and you file for a patent application, you're talking to your patent attorney and things like that, talking to myself, you kind of know what's going on and kind of how to understand the claims, the terminology of a patent. But again, I still want to know in the comment section, is this stuff happening that often? Like I said, is it typically option A or scenario one, where you kind of know you're trafficking drugs to the U.S. and you're willing to take that risk because the cartels are giving you a lot of money, or they're maybe threatening violence, so you're like, okay, I have to do it anyway? Or is it option two, where hey, you're asleep, you don't know, and they have come modified your vehicle and kind of stash some drugs in there, maybe put a GPS system in your vehicle. Then as you get to the other side, or get to the country, get in the U.S., for example, they kind of track you down because they have the GPS in your vehicle, and they get the drugs back. And you're like, hold on, what's going on? I was a drug trafficker for the day. You got to let me know, which one is it? Is it option A or scenario one, or is it option B or scenario two? Please let me know in the comment section. But as we wrap up here, let me put it on. Let's go through this patent application here. Like I said, I'm trying to give you guys some valuable game. And again, part of that is, just knowing how to read a patent application. So here we go. To the left here, both of these are actually the same patent. To the left here is the actually detailed description, or the claims part of it. So you see here, claim one, whereas the right side is just the figures that are drawing. So I have it pulled up on figure 2A, and you see the guy in the figure, the far left vehicle. You see the person, these people standing behind the vehicle. It seems like person 66, or the person who was identified with reference number 66 here. He looks to be trying to stash some type of drugs or a unknown object or a foreign object, maybe in the tires, maybe in one of these rear fenders. So it seems like that's what's going on in figure 2A here of the patent application. You see the guy bent down on his knee who's identified with reference number 66, and he seems to be kind of, looking to try to stash some foreign object, let's just say, some unknown cargo, let's just say, in the actual vehicle, in the actual rear tire of the vehicle. So again, let's go through the claims. And if you haven't heard me say it once, you heard me say it over and over again. The claims are the most important section of the actual patent application, and they typically have 20 claims. So in other words, when you go file an application, at least the USPTO, United States Patent and Trademark Office, some countries do it differently, but here in the US, they're going to give you 20 claims, which includes 3 independent claims they're going to allow you for as part of filing the application. Then if you go over 20 claims or if you go over 3 independent claims, they're going to tax you. So what is an independent claim? An independent claim is a standalone claim. So what you see here, claim 1 is an event detection system for a vehicle. That's an independent claim. It doesn't depend from another claim. Whereas, for example, claim 2, it depends from claim 1. The system according to claim 1, go to the system, claim 3 here, the system according to claim 2. So 3 built off 2 and 2 built off of 1. But 1, for example, is a standalone claim. We're only going to go through claim 1, even though it's 20 claims. This one is actually pretty interesting because they only have 2 independent claims instead of the 3 that you're allowed. So you see claim 1 is an independent claim, then you see claim 16 is an independent claim. So all claims 2 through 15, they all kind of depend on ultimately claim 1, whereas claim 17 through 20 depends on claim 16. And you can see claim 16 is another standalone or independent claim because it starts with an evidence collection system for a vehicle, as opposed to any kind of it stands alone as opposed to depending from another claim. So you see claim 17 depends from claim 16 and so forth and so on. So let's go through claim 1. This is the only claim that we're going to go through. And please let me know in the comment section if you're picking up what I'm putting down, or do you get something out of me going through these claims? Because I'm interested in knowing whether you guys get something out of this. So it's an event detection system for a vehicle that essentially includes a processor. So essentially, some type of computer, some control module. Then you have some sensors, a sensor suite, electrically connected to the processor. So what is a sensor suite? A sensor suite can be a camera, it can be a GPS system, it can be a microphone that's near the vehicle. And this is actually interesting because as you look at the drawings here, figure 2A to the right, you see the cameras that's on these storefronts. You see storefront 200, you see the camera 202. Again, you see storefront 210, you see the camera 212. So it doesn't look like they're trying to capture this stuff from cameras. And maybe it's, I guess, can be cameras associated with the vehicle, but they're not limiting it to cameras associated with the vehicle. They're actually limiting it to cameras that are a part of stores, cameras that are part of, I guess, people's cell phones, which it'll be interesting how does Ford get access to that information. But again, for the sake of this claim, you have a sensor suite that's electrically connected to the processor. So the processor obviously would be inside the vehicle. The sensor suite, again, it can be cameras, it can be a GPS system, it can be a microphone. That microphone can be a part of the vehicle, or it could be near the vehicle, for example. So the sensor suite is essentially connected to the processor or the control module. Then you have a memory that's essentially stored in a processor or a part of the processor, and that memory includes instructions that, when executed by the processor, it causes the processors to perform these operations. Receiving on command, that on command can be you turning on a vehicle. Actually, they were supposed to use this and they're supposed to leave that and put it after this next one. So when you're it's a part of claim draft, and this is a patent attorney thing, that and should be right before the last element. So you see this determines step is the last element or the last feature. That and should actually be here as opposed to here. It shouldn't be on after the receive on command. It should be after this receive data step. So that's it'll be interesting if this gets subjected to it or rejected during prosecution, but I guess we'll see. So it receives an on command. Like I said, the on command can be you turning on a vehicle. Then it receives data from the sensor suite. Obviously, we have the sensor suite that we talked about, the cameras, microphone, GPS system. So the memory here receives that data from the actual sensor suite, and the data is indicative of an event. It doesn't actually say what this actually should be an event because you don't reference an event up here. Again, another claim drafting thing. When you're introducing something for the first time, it should be a or an as opposed to the. So it should be an event. And then when you reference that event later on in the other claims, you should say the event. But when you introduce something for the first time, it shouldn't say the. And I can guarantee you that's going to get an antecedent basis during prosecution. But I digress. Let's carry on. So this memory is going to perform these operations. The operation includes receiving it on command. And again, that's when you start the vehicle. Then it's going to receive data from the sensor suite. That data can be footage of the camera. It can be audio from a microphone. It can be some type of information from the GPS. And that data is indicative of an event. What is the event that you talked about? That event can be somebody storing a foreign object or unknown cargo to the vehicle. That event could be somebody that's near the vehicle, a little bit too close to the vehicle. And then that last step is to determine the event includes placing of unknown cargo on the vehicle. So again, if the event is somebody too close to the vehicle, then that last step is going to say, okay, did that person place some type of unknown cargo on the vehicle? And that, and to the extent that it did, then, I would imagine that it gives some type of notification or alert or siren to, deal with it accordingly. So that's essentially claim one. So you have a process. You only have actually three components. You got a processor. You got some type of sensor suite. I talked about, what that sensor suite can include. And then you got some memory, which a lot of times would be a part of the processor. And the steps includes receiving an on command, receiving all this data from your sensor suite, and determining whether or not the event that includes placing of some type of unknown cargo, quote unquote, or in other words, drugs on the vehicle. And to the extent that you put the drugs on the vehicle, then it's probably going to give some type of alarm or notification to the proper authorities. And voila, you are avoided of, or you are able to avoid being a drug trafficker. I'm not sure. I think I'm not going to say that, but yeah, I definitely don't want to. Let's say I don't want to traffic drugs, even if it's definitely not knowingly, but I definitely don't want to unknowingly traffic drugs. Thankfully, I'm in the Midwest because we don't typically have to deal with that. But maybe our brethren to the South, they may relate to this patent application and actually, may see it as a benefit a lot more than maybe what I do. So hopefully you guys got something out of that video. Please let me know in the comments if you especially to the extent that you're in Texas. Is this a big thing? If you're in Mexico and you're watching it from Mexico, hey, shout out to you. Appreciate you watching the content. I have worked with a lot of inventors in Mexico. That's the thing. I have filed patent applications in Mexico, and I've worked with Mexican inventors who are looking to file stuff in the U.S., and I've worked with, kind of both ways. So to the extent that you are in Mexico or in one of those southern states, let me know, is this that big of an issue to the point where it required some type of a patent application or technology to be bought up to kind of deal with it? It seems like from the article, this actually is a thing where people are kind of going back and forth between Mexico and the U.S. with drugs. And again, I can totally see somebody doing it knowingly for the money or the threat of violence that is given out by the cartel. But are you unknowingly coming across that border, that southern border, with drugs? And to the extent that you are, then this is going to be a home run for Ford. So you may see it in one of those Ford vehicles in a near future. Please hit the like button if you like this content, and please hit the subscribe button to get more of this type of content dealing with current events. Anything that's dealing with intellectual property, patents, trademarks, copyrights, trade secrets. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Until next time,